Yeah. All right. And do we have a reading list up? I realize there's just a few of us, but I think it's still good to have a list.
You want to try to read it, Gabriella?
Sure.
Okay.
So this is Canto 26, right?
Yes, right.
Paradiso.
Okay, so Anne will put you
Paradiso.
on the reading list. You don't have to worry about whether you understand it or not. It comes slowly.
That's fine. Definitely, this is not a magazine. It's not like reading a magazine.
Oh,
I like reading the magazine.
I would say not.
As a matter of fact, we changed our approach about 3 months ago, I think, where we were reading things much more quickly. Now we're reading much more slowly.
This canto we've discussed quite a bit, so I don't know if we'll be maybe faster this time around. Would anyone mind if I read Sarah's introduction again?
Fine with me.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, as long as Duncan's ready, that speaks for, and anyone who objects, speak now. Okay, the story. To Dante, bewildered and alarmed by his sudden blindness, come the reassuring words of St. John. His sight will be restored to him by the healing gaze of Beatrice. Meanwhile, the apostle questions him concerning love. Dante declares that God is the beginning and end of all his loves, and in response to further questioning, indicates the sources whence he has derived the knowledge that God is the ultimate good, and hence the supreme object of love. Replying still farther, he enumerates the blessings by which God manifests his goodness to man. As he concludes, a hymn of praise is sung by all the assembled saints, and Dante's vision is restored. The soul of Adam joins the three apostles and replies to Dante's unspoken questions concerning the fall of Adam and Eve, the duration of his stay in Eden and of his life on earth, and the language which he spoke. Okay.
Okay, so now we're ready to begin. We're going to start today's session by reading the English part of Paradiso, Canto 26, which we read and discussed last time. So after reading the English version, we will move on and read Canto 27, which we will spend most of our time today discussing. Okay, here we go. While I was doubting from my vision quenched, out of the flame refulgent that had quenched it issued a breathing that attentive made me, saying, while thou recoverest the sense of seeing, which in me thou hast consumed, 'tis well that speaking thou should compensate it. Begin then and declare to what thy soul is aimed, and count it for a certainty. Sight is in thee bewildered and not dead. Because the lady who through this divine region conducteth thee has in her look the power of Ananas had. Next, please.
I said, as pleaseth her, or soon or late, let the cure come to eyes that portals were, when she with fire I ever burn, when she with fire I ever burn with entered. The good that gives contentment to this court, the Alpha and Omega, is of all the writing that love reads me low or loud. the selfsame voice that had taken from me the terror of the sudden dazzlement, to speak still further, put it in my thought and said, in verity with finer sieve behoveth thee to sift, for thee it behoveth to say, who aimed thy bow at such a target. Next.
John, are you ready?
And I, by philosophic arguments, and by authority that hence descends, such love must needs imprint itself in me. For good, so far as good, when comprehended, doth straight enkindle love, and so much greater, as more of goodness in itself it holds. Then to that essence, whose is such advantage, that every good which out of it is found is nothing but a ray of its own light. More than elsewhither must the mind be moved, of every one in loving who discerns the truth in which this evidence is found. Such truth he to my intellect reveals, who demonstrates to me the primal love of all the sempiternal substances. The voice reveals it of the truthful author, who says to Moses, speaking of himself, I will make all my goodness pass before thee. Thou too revealest it to me, beginning the loud evangel that proclaims the secret of heaven to earth above all other edict. And I heard say by human intellect and by authority concordant with it, of all thy loves reserve for God the highest. But say again, if other chords thou feelest, draw thee towards him, that thou mayst proclaim with how many teeth this love is biting thee. The holy purpose of the eagle of Christ not latent was, nay, rather I perceived, whither he fain would my profession lead. Next.
Gabriella? Mhm.
Therefore, I recommenced. All of those bites, which have the power to turn the heart to God and to my charity, have been concurrent. The being of the world and my own being, the death which he endureth, that I may live, and that which all the faithful hope as I do. With the forementioned vivid consciousness have drawn me from the sea of love perverse, and of the right have placed me on the shore. The leaves wherewith embowered is all the garden of the eternal gardener. Do I love as much as he has granted them of good? As soon as I had ceased, a song most sweet throughout the heaven resounded. And my lady said with the others, Holy, holy, holy. And as at some keen light one wakes from sleep, by reason of the visual spirit that runs unto the splendor passed from coat to coat. And as at some keen light, and he who wakes abhorreth what he sees, so all unconscious is his sudden waking, until the judgment cometh to his aid. So from before mine eyes did Beatrice chase every mote with radiance of her own, that cast its light 1,000 miles and more. Next.
Whence better after than before I saw, and in a kind of wonderment I asked about a fourth light that I saw with us, and said, my lady, There within those rays gazes upon its maker, the first soul, that ever the first virtue did create. Even as the bough that downward bends its top, as transit of the wind, and then is lifted by its own virtue, which inclines it upwards. Likewise did I, the while that she was speaking, being amazed, and then I was made bold by a desire to speak wherewith I burned. And I began, O apple that mature alone has been produced, O ancient father, to whom each wife is daughter and daughter-in-law. Devoutly as I can, I supplicate thee, that thou wouldst speak to me, thou seest my wish, and I to hear thee quickly speak it not. Sometimes an animal, when covered, struggles, so that his impulse needs must be apparent, by reason of the wrappage following it. And in like manner, the primeval soul made clear to me at what its covering, how jubilant it was to give me pleasure. Then breathed, without thy uttering it to me, thine inclination better I discern, than thou, whatever thing is surest to thee. For I behold it in the truthful mirror, that of himself all things parhelion makes, and none makes him parhelion of itself. Thou fain wouldst hear how long ago God placed me within the lofty garden, where this lady unto so long a stairway thee disposed, and how long to mine eyes it was a pleasure, and of the great disdain the proper cause, and the language that I used and that I made. Next, please.
Now, son of mine, the tasting of the tree not in itself was cause of so great exile, but solely the overstepping of the bounds. There whence thy lady moved Virgilius. 4,302 circuits made by the sun, this counsel I desired. And him I saw return to all the lights of his highway, 900 times and 30, whilst I upon the earth was tarrying. The language that I spake was quite extinct, before that in the work interminable. The people under Nimrod were employed. For nevermore result of reasoning, because of human pleasure that does change, obedient to the heavens, was durable. Next, please.
A natural action is it that man speaks, but whether thus or thus doth nature leave to your own art as seemeth best to you. Ere I descended to the infernal anguish, El was on earth, the name of the chief good, from whom comes all joy that wraps me round. Eli he then was called, and that is proper, because the use of men is like a leaf on bough, which goeth and another cometh. Upon the mount that highest o'er the wave rises was I, in life or pure or sinful, from the first hour to that which is the second, as the sun changes quadrant to the sixth.
Okay.
I think he's saying something about the time of day as well as whatever else that referred to. Anybody else? No?
Are you talking about the amount of time he spent in the Garden of Eden?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it
you were
was.
talking
Yeah.
about, right.
Yeah, it was just 6 hours.
So it's going, yeah, that's going back to that first part. What verse was that? Anyways, that, we have Dante, and he comes into conversation with Adam, the firstborn. And then there's this whole conversation about why was he tossed out of the garden, where Adam says it wasn't the apple. It wasn't the eating of the apple. It was the disobedience,
Overstepping of the bounds.
overstepping of the bounds. And then there's that once again, that discussion about language, because the idea of what was the first language was actually a hot topic in Italy at the time. And so Adam is saying, yeah, well, we spoke Hebrew, but the Hebrew that we spoke has gone, because actually, although as human beings we are created to speak language, it's our choice what language we speak, and languages come and go. And so that original language is gone.
And then the Sayers note, Adam answers, how long did he reside in Eden? And the answer is 6 hours from the first to the seventh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I forgot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are among the medieval theologians
Mm-hmm.
seem to believe that was the duration of Adam's stay in Eden.
Yeah.
And the hour of the fall is thus made to coincide with the hour of Christ's death. Dante quotes Saint Luke as saying in his Convivo, it was about the 6th hour when he died.
Well, what does it mean to coincide in this case?
The hour of the fall
Mm-hmm.
is made to coincide with the hour of Christ's death.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah. Since the synoptists put the last cry from the cross at the 9th hour, Dante must mean that Christ entered into death at the 6th hour noon, whereas at the 9th hour, the act was completed. I don't really know what that means.
I think the larger frame is this is once again trying to get across to us that we're always living in eternity, and that our concept of time is a very human thing. But actually, because here we have Adam being tossed out of the garden at the same time that Christ is dying on the cross.
Do you think that has to do with the fact that Christ was, gave his life to clean the sins or to redeem the sins of people, right? So I don't know. I wonder if it is related to that the moment that Eden was exiled or was because of his sins, that moment Jesus died to already redeem.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. My only point was that this is another indication about how that time, that eternity always is. What we consider past, what we consider present, and what we consider future is already in eternity. So what to us, from a historical point of view, we consider, that Adam happened a long time ago, and then Christ was more recently, that and from eternity's point of view, they can happen at the same time.
The last part of Sayers' note is 6 hours is also the length of time spent by Dante in the earthly paradise and in the 8th heaven.
Yeah, I read that somewhere as well. Between Canto 22 and 27 is 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how they came to this conclusion.
Yeah,
But
I don't.
Well, he was the author.
Yeah, well, I think he was like weaving it into the time scheme he created for the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, he's doing all kinds of stuff. I wanted to bring in, that whole thing. Let me find the content. This is only because I was reading Barolini again, but in 49 through 51, I believe it is, where they're talking to say again, if other chords, thou feelest, draw thee towards him that thou mayest proclaim with how many teeth this love is biting thee. And that this is a transformation actually of an earlier love poem that Dante had written, where he's talking about bites in this love poem, and now he's turning those bites into a spiritual thing.
And the parallel is also in the Inferno, the level where the sinners are biting one another. I read about that in Barolini yesterday too.
Really?
Yeah. I'm back to the beginning in Barolini.
Okay. I will put that in the category of, wow, that's curious.
Yeah, it's interesting how he created this structure where Paradise seems to parallel Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay, are we ready to move on to 27, Sheila?
I would like to, I'm thinking too that what we've been doing is reading the whole thing and then going back. Is anyone okay with that?
Perfect.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. You get an overall feeling for it, and then
Yeah, we'll get an overlook where all my confusion comes up, and then and we can talk about. And I'll read this little introduction from Sayers. For a brief space of time, Dante participates in the exaltation of the saints who rejoice in his progress. Saint Peter then resumes, and turning fiery red, denounces the present occupant of the papal see, which he declares vacant in his sight. The saints of the Church Triumphant return to the Imperium, and after looking down once more on earth, Dante ascends with Beatrice into the primum mobile. So I will
Great.
start.
Knock, knocking on heaven's door today.
To the Father, and to Son, and to Holy Ghost, all heaven broke forth. Be glory. Such sweet din my sense was drunken to the uttermost. And all I saw me seemed to see therein a smile of all creation. Thus through eye and ear I drew the inebriate rapture in. O joy no tongue can tell, O ecstasy, O perfect life fulfilled of love and peace, O wealth past want that ne'er shall fade nor fly. And these four flamboys blazed without surcease, full in my sight, and as I looked, the glow of that which first draw near began to increase. And as in aspect Jupiter would show if Mars and he were birds, and quill for quill exchanged their plumage, such it seemed to grow. Then, when that providence, whose sovereign will each office there assigns and function do, had hushed the blissful choirs and all was still, I heard, if I change color as I do, marvel thou not, for thou shalt see apace while I shall speak, all these change color too. Someone can go next, John, in the middle of Peter's.
He who usurps upon the earth my place, which vacant has become, before the presence of the Son of God, as of my cemetery, made a sewer, of blood and stench, whereby the perverse one who fell from here below there is appeased. With the same color which through sun adverse painteth the clouds at evening or at morn, beheld I then the whole of heaven suffuse. And as a modest woman who abides, sure of herself, and at another's failing, from listening only, timorous becomes. Even thus did Beatrice change countenance, and I believe in heaven was such eclipse, when suffered the supreme omnipotence. Thereafterward proceeded forth his words, which voice so much transmuted from itself, very countenance was not more changed. The spouse of Christ has never nurtured been of blood of mine, of Linus or of Cletus, to be made use of in a quest of gold, but in a quest of this delightful life, Sixtus and Pius, Urban and Calixtus, after much lamentation, shed their blood. Next, please.
Our purpose was not that on the right hand of our successors should in part be seated the Christian folk, in part upon the other, nor that the keys which were to me confided should are become the scutcheon on a banner that should wage war on those who are baptized, nor be made the figure of a seal, two privileges, venal and mendacious, of banal, whereat I often redden and flash with fire. In garb of shepherds, the rapacious wolves are seen from here above o'er all the pastures. O wrath of God, why dost thou slumber still? To drink our blood, the Corsines and Gascons are making ready. O thou good beginning, unto how vile an end must thou needs fall. Next.
Okay. But the high providence that with Scipio at Rome the glory of the world defended will speedily bring aid as I conceive. And thou, my son, who by thy immortal weight shalt thou return again, open thy mouth. What I conceal not, do not thou conceal. As with its frozen vapours downwards fall, in flakes or atmosphere, what time the horn of the celestial goat thou touch the sun. Upon it such a ray saw I the ether become, and flaked with the triumphant vapours, which there together with us had remained. My sight was followed up their semblances, and followed till the medium by excess, the passing further onward took from it. Whereat the lady who beheld me freed from gazing upward said to me, cast down thy sight, and see how far thou art turned round. Since the first time that I had downwards looked, I saw that I had moved through the whole arc, which the first climate makes from mist to end. So that I saw the mad track of Ulysses, past Gades and this side, well nigh and shore, whereon became Europa a sweet burden. And of this threshing floor the sight to me were more unveiled, but the sun was proceeding under my feet, a sign and more removed. My mind enamoured witches dallying at all times with my lady, to bring back to her mine eyes was more than ever ardent. And if our art or nature has made babe to catch the eyes, and so possess the mind, in human flesh or in its posture. Next, please.
All joined together would appear as naught to the divine delight, which shone upon me, when to her shining face I turned me round. The virtue that her look endowed me with from the fairest nest of Leda tore me forth, and up into the swiftest heaven impelled me. Its parts, exceeding full of life and lofty, are all so uniform. I cannot say which Beatrice selected for my place. But she, who was aware of my desire, began, the while she smiled so joyously, the gods seemed in her countenance to rejoice. The nature of that motion which keeps quiet the center, and all the rest about it moves from hence, begins as from its starting point. And in this heaven, there is no other where than in the divine mind, or in the mind divine, wherein is kindled the love that turns it, and the power it reigns. Within a circle light and love embrace it, even as this doth the others, and that precinct, he who encircles it alone controls. Next, please.
Its motion is not by another meted, but all the others measured are by this, as 10 is by the half and by the fifth. And when and in what manner time in such a pot may have its roots, and in the rest its leaves, now unto thee can manifest be made. O covetousness that mortals dost engulf, beneath thee so that no one hath the power of drawing back his eyes from thy waves. Full fairly blossoms in mankind the will, but the uninterrupted rain converts into abortive wildings. The true plums, fidelity and innocence are found only in children. Afterwards they both take flight, or ere the cheeks with down are covered. One, while he prattles still, observes the fasts, who, when his tongue is loosed, forthwith devours whatever food under whatever moon. Another, while he prattles, loves and listens unto his mother, who, when speech is perfect, forthwith desires to see her in her grave. Even thus is swarthy made the skin so white in its first aspect of the daughter fair of him who brings the morn and leaves the night. Thou, though it may not be a marvel to thee, think that on earth there is no one who governs, whence goes astray the human family. Ere January be unwintered wholly by the centesimal on earth neglected, shall these supernal circles roar so loud, the tempest that hath been so long awaited shall whirl the poops about where are the prows, so that the fleet shall run its course direct, and the true fruit shall follow on the flower. I followed it some. I wrote by last time we went through this by a line 100. He discovers women's rights. I must mean Dante by that.
All right.
So
Okay.
let's start again and see what we have to think about.
Okay.
Okay.
That's John.
So John, just go ahead and read however many tersima you think is appropriate, and then stop and we'll go through those.
Okay, I may be stopped by some hammering, but we'll see.
Okay.
The ambient
That's
noise.
We can adjust. We can adjust.
Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and Holy Ghost. All paradise began, so that the melody inebriate made me. What I beheld seemed unto me a smile of the universe, for my inebriation found entrance through the hearing and the sight. O joy, O gladness inexpressible, O perfect life of love and peacefulness, O riches without hankering secure. Okay.
Okay, great.
We had something like this in Purgatory. They were saying Gloria, and it shall cease. I think it was regarding Statius. I have a note on that.
Was this towards the end when he's about ready to enter into the Garden of Eden or go through that thing?
Yeah, let me. Purgatory 20.
Okay.
Purgatory 20, 136.
Okay. Are you going to read some of
So,
that?
yeah. Starting at, I think it's 133. Then upon,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And this was all paradise began.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. Lord be God, you got that part. So he's kind of drunk on the sights and sounds. There we go. All right.
I can read Sayre's note.
Mhm.
The request which Beatrice made on Dante's behalf that the saints should bedew him with their joy, which is in Canto 14, is now granted. His 3 tests are concluded, and he is eligible to proceed beyond the 8th heaven through the prima mobile into the Imperium, there to behold God. In recognition of this, the saints burst into a hymn of praise to the Three-in-One. Dante, through his sight and hearing, becomes aware of the joy of heaven. And those 4 flamboys are St. Peter, St. James, St. John, and Adam.
Mhm.
And the glow is the radiance of the soul of Peter.
Who he's going to have a conversation with right away. Yeah. Okay. Well, John, you want to go? You just read, right?
Yeah.
So I guess Gabriella, would you like, Gabriella, what we're doing here is you can just read what you consider to be enough that we can have another conversation.
Maybe a question would come to your mind as you're reading.
Sure, sure.
It's just a guess on our part.
Okay, I will resume from here. Before mine eyes were standing the 4 torches enkindled, and the one that first had come began to make itself more luminous. And even such in semblance, it became as Jupiter would become if he and Mars were birds, and they should interchange their feathers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's great. Okay, so I really like
The 4
Line.
torches too are the St. Peter, St. James, St. John, and Adam.
Mhm. Yeah. And I really like the physical description here. where it goes, we're standing the 4 torches enkindled. And the one that first had come began to make itself more luminous. That's kind of a nice image. You know, you got 4 kind of equal lights, and then all of a sudden one of the lights becomes brighter.
And that's
Mm.
Peter.
And
Yeah.
that's true. Mhm.
So and how, why they put enkindled with uppercase? Because it's because the light comes from God, like because they are reflecting that higher light.
I think it may have more to do with the fact that it's just the next line. If you look at all the lines here, you'll see that the beginning of every line.
I see. Because I'm
capitalized.
sorry, in the what I'm reading, it says, yeah.
Well, enkindled is when a soul rises to meet Dante, to converse with Dante. It becomes bright. It gets light.
Mhm.
So this is Peter who's going to say something to Dante.
Yeah. I think Gabriella's question had more to do with why is enkindled capitalized? And my answer, which may not be correct, but I think it is that it's capitalized because it's the beginning of a line.
Oh, sure.
And all the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beginnings, the
Yeah.
line beginnings. Yeah.
Yeah, in the document I'm reading, it's one whole sentence. So I was wondering about that. But it
Well,
makes sense what you says. Yeah.
okay. So I will tell you, Gabriella, that what I'm looking at, I'm using Dante Lab Dartmouth edu, and they have a very nice page where they have the original. You can select the original Italian, or you can choose a translation. In this case, most of us are using the Longfellow translation. And it also is nice in the sense that it has line numbers.
And is it
The-
lined up in verse with the beginning of each line
Well,
capitalized?
the way, if it would be, if let's see what happens if I,
well, it's okay. I will email you later on. I don't want to
That's okay.
slow
Yeah.
down
No, don't
Okay.
worry
Distract.
about it.
I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, this is what I'm going to do right now, Gabriella. It's really easy. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to chat,
Mhm.
and there's chat, and then I'm going to put the link in there.
Okay.
There's the link. And if you click on that link, a browser will open on your computer and take you right to it. Oh, here, I got it.
Okay.
Excuse me, I have to actually send it. So you just click on
Mhm.
that hot link and it'll open a browser and take you right there. And then,
Great.
yeah. Okay, so there
Thank
we,
you.
yeah, my pleasure. Okay, now I'm really curious, and I don't know if there's a good explanation for it, but in lines 13 through 15. So here we're in the prima mobile, and we've got the saints there, and we've got Saint Peter there, and Dante's just in ecstasy. And then all of a sudden in line 13, it says, so here's Peter, even such a semblance it became as Jupiter would become if he and Mars were birds and they should interchange their feathers.
Mhm. Uh, it was an ancient tradition of representation, presented the planets as birds with rays as their feathers.
Yeah, it's just the use of pagan, I mean,
Yeah, I know. I agree with you.
pagan things here.
Yeah.
Then here we are on the heavens of heaven, right? And so it's just like
I
when
agree.
But he's going through the planets, he's going through the, Sarah's note is Dante means if the planet Jupiter exchanged its white light for the ruddy hue of Mars, but retained its present size, it would resemble the increasingly fiery radiance of Saint Peter. His change of color is explained in, I don't know, she has here 19 to 21. I don't know what that means even.
lines 19 through 21.
In
Yeah.
2. I see, in lines 19 to 21
21.
following. Okay. Yeah. So it's explained now.
Yeah, so we could go ahead and you want to go ahead and read at least
16.
through 21 or
Perfect.
24, whatever you want to do.
That providence which here distributed season and service in the blessed choir had silence upon every side imposed. When I heard say, if my colour change, marvel not at it, for while I am speaking, thou shalt behold all these their colour change. Okay, that's Jesus explaining that bit. He who usurps upon the earth my place, my place, my place, which vacant has become before the presence of the Son of God, has of my cemetery made a sewer of blood and stench, whereby the perverse one who fell from here below there is appeased. With the same colour which through sun adverse painted the clouds at evening or at morn, beheld I then the whole of heaven suffused. And is that okay? Or do you want me to go on?
Yeah,
Duncan?
I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then
Yeah,
it's just
That's a-
describing
It's a
BHAC.
mouthful, as they say.
The same color is what?
What line are you
Oh,
referring to?
that painted the clouds at evening and at morn. So it's
Yes, red, yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah, he's working very hard here to give us a physical,
Description, yeah.
a sensual description, actually.
Mm.
In this case, it's colors, but this is, to me, very curious. Just like I'm pretty simple-minded sometimes. So just like I'm astounded at here we are in the Christian heaven. We're up in the heaven of heavens, and we got this thing about Jupiter and Mars were birds,
Yeah.
and they would interchange. And then we go down a little bit further, and he has this very lovely verse where Saint Peter is saying, if my color change, marvel not at it, for while I'm speaking, thou shalt behold all their color change. So we've kind of got a light show going on,
Mhm.
And I'm an old hippie. I remember light shows. That was a big deal when we would go listen to the rock and roll bands, and the food coloring would be whirled around in these bowls through a projector and washing the walls with all kind of color. So I can really enjoy that.
And he's placing the whole setting in physical, in nature, which the what's the matter with me? The planets, the astrological system they believed in then was part of that, was kind of the structure of nature that they saw at that point. So it was called Jupiter and Mars. They didn't rename it. The church didn't rename it.
Why, yeah, I understand that, but also
Well, what I'm
Mars
doing
were
is working
Roman
on
gods.
what
And also Jupiter and Mars were Roman gods.
they were, right?
And I believe that the story he's referring to, and perhaps John can clarify this, that I'm just guessing, there's this story where Jupiter and Mars are birds and they interchange feathers. Is there
Well, yeah, that's there.
that?
Not that I know of.
Mm.
There's Mars is Jupiter's son, and if we go with the Greeks, there's a scene in the Iliad where Mars gets wounded by one of the Greek warriors, and Zeus really lays into him and tells him he's the most hateful, or he most hates him of all his children, and things like that. So there
Wow.
is some in some traditions, some tension between them. But as far as both of them, Jupiter sometimes for purposes of seduction becomes a bird, but I don't recall anything with Mars
Well,
becoming one.
the Aeneid, Virgil, the Trojans versus the Romans, that's all built into the history that, and Dante believing in the Roman church, that's all woven into this whole commedia.
Hmm.
Yeah, the idea that the Roman Empire was the necessary predecessor to enable the spread of Christianity, which is why, unlike Shakespeare, he holds Julius Caesar in high regard,
Yeah.
because Caesar was one of the key figures in moving Rome towards its empire.
Right. We
And
had
he-
that whole thing way back in like Canto 7 or 8, where Dante goes in heavily into this thing about that the Roman Empire had to conquer and stabilize an imperial area in order for Christianity to spread. Without that assistance of the Roman Empire, it could not have happened.
And he believed that a ruler, a just ruler, would appear. That was his hope.
Yep. Which I find just probably my perverse way of interpreting some of this stuff. I find very curious that it's almost like, as we're going to find out, because we have this whole heaven thing, and look what happens starting in verse 22. It becomes a rant.
Mm.
Well, this is Peter too.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's giving out, but he is venting against the church right up to
And I
line
think
66.
I think
Yeah,
the Pope
yeah.
he's venting against is already in hell. I think Dante put his soul into hell. I think I read this in Barolini last night. Even
I
though he
think-
was alive, his soul was in hell already.
That's Boniface VIII. Yeah, I don't know if he was actually dead, but he had a place ready for him anyway.
There's another pope, and when Dante and Virgil approach, he assumes that it's Boniface, and he says something like, "You're here
Yeah.
before your time." So he's not actually there,
No, he didn't.
but Dante would like him to be. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This is
He's
way
He's
back
letting
in,
us all know he will be.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
it's
is way back in Inferno, like like
Yeah.
right near where Satan himself is,
Right.
right?
Yeah, let's see.
I believe
Um,
that the really bad popes are just right there before Satan, and Dante goes up through or down through Satan to come in to move into Purgatorio. Yeah, it's just me. It's just me. I keep on feeling like, you know, that Dante by this time should really God, this is really horrible for me to say, but he should be appreciating the comedy of it all.
Oh, I guess, I feel that he does.
Okay, all right, because I mean, when if I understand the interpretation of heaven here, it's kind of like we're put on earth, we got free will, most of us make a real mess out of everything, but it's just part of the whole deal. It's kind of this sifting to find out which souls are going to be appropriate heaven material and which are not so appropriate heaven material, and that people are striving after money and power and all these things, that they're kind of their own joke.
Yeah, it's like a Shakespeare play. And Peter is now ranting against this dishonest, this sinning Pope.
Yeah, who would like the honor and the pleasure of reading the rant?
We're not quite there yet.
No, we're there. It's
Oh,
the rant starts there right up to 66.
Okay, well, I think I'm the next reader, but I don't
Go
think
ahead.
I'll read the whole thing. I'll share it. I'll share it with Dee Dee. You follow me, right?
Sure, well, see
So
where it
I'll
feels,
read about half of it.
okay, see what it feels like stopping, where you feel like
Okay,
stopping.
okay. All right, so I'm going to back up just a little bit to 22. And St. Peter's talking. He who usurps upon the earth my place, which vacant has become before the presence of the Son of God, has of my cemetery made a sewer of blood and stench, whereby the perverse one who fell from here below there is appeased. With the same color which through sun adverse painteth the clouds at evening or at morn, beheld I then the whole of heaven suffused. And as a modest woman who abides sure of herself and at another's failing from listening only, timorous becomes. Oh, I think that's plenty. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Even thus did Beatrice change countenance, and I believe in heaven was such eclipse when suffered the supreme omnipotence. It's as though the light blocked out God. Therefore, there afterward proceeded forth his words with voice so much transmuted from itself, the very countenance was not more changed. The spouse of Christ has never nurtured been on blood of mine, of Linus and of Cletus, to be made use of in a quest of gold. But in a quest of this delightful life, Sixtus and Pius, Urban and Calixtus, after much lamentation, shed their blood. So,
I have a question.
yeah,
So does the spouse of Christ has never nurtured being
the church, I think that I'm not,
Oh,
I'm gonna look in the notes. But I think that means the church itself. Well, it doesn't say, but I think that's.
yeah,
where-
yeah, it
That's
refers to,
okay.
makes sense.
Guys read the spouse is the church, right?
And they were martyred for their, Cletus and Linus were martyred for their faith. And Linus was to have been the successor of Saint Peter. Um, And these others, Sixtus, Calixtus, Pius, and Sixtus were all bishops of Rome. They were all martyred. And the, where is it? 40. And the spouse of Christ, I think is, it doesn't say here, but I think it's the church.
I think it is the church, yeah. When I mean, upon this rock, blah, 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 which of course Peter is, Latin for Peter is Petra, I think rock. But I'm very curious about.
Greek, actually.
That's Greek, Petra
Greek,
is
yeah,
Greek, thank you
yeah.
very much. I'm very curious about the 42nd line. Of blood of mine, of Linus and of Cletus, who I think were martyrs, to be made use of in a quest of gold.
And that's what the church was, that's what Peter was complaining about.
Right, that power hungry, wealth hungry people were martyring popes and taking over, is my interpretation of this.
Yeah, and you know what, this is the story of all these glorious cathedrals. It's critical of such a kind of aspiration of splendor,
Yeah.
rather than approving of it.
Well, to be the thing, render under Caesar what is Caesar's, I think, at least in my interpretation, was an actual warning. Christ was giving a warning, don't go after money.
Yep, absolutely.
Don't go after money. Yeah, because that's one of the devil's temptations right there. Power and wealth. That was that's what the devil was offering Christ in his wanderings in the 40 days in the wilderness. And yet, time after time, that's exactly what the church did.
And you know what, what's coming up from Peter about uniting rather than dividing Christian folk, not to nurture war on those who are baptized.
So you're referring to verses.
The lines that are coming up now.
Okay, well, you might as well read them if we're going to go there.
Okay, who's next? Am I next?
If you consider.
Or John could be next. John could read that. Okay, John. Our purpose was not.
Okay.
Mhm.
Our purpose was not that on the right hand of our successors should in part be seated the Christian folk, in part upon the other, nor that the keys which were to me confided should e'er become the escutcheon on a banner that should wage war on those who are baptized, nor I be made the figure of a seal to privileges venal and mendacious, whereat I often redden and flash with fire. In garb of shepherds, the rapacious wolves are seen from here above, o'er all the pastures. O wrath of God, why dost thou slumber still?
Okay.
That's that is kind of an anguish of what the church has developed into, an expression of anguish.
Hmm. But I think also in many ways, it's not just, it, I know he's trying to describe the church at that time, which hasn't changed much, right?
Yeah, right.
But we
Exactly.
can also see this as just aspects of this lower nature of humans.
Yeah,
Because we can see it across different religions. You know,
Mhm.
what men have done with that with the sublime, right?
yeah. They being used this way.
Yes, it's almost inevitable. If whatever the spiritual path is, if the institution that is promoting it gets wealth and power, it's almost inevitable to decay spiritually.
And I'm seeing here in the notes that he's talking too about this rift in the church from Rome to Avignon, and that's the particular
The immediate cause.
particular struggle, both the religion has split into two warring factions.
Yep.
His church. And those core scenes, let's see, that comes up. That's got to do with the papacy being transferred to Avignon. Pope John the 22nd was born at Cahors.
Mm-hmm.
Both Clement and John were guilty of avarice and extortion.
Yeah, this is one of those instances, though, that for me, I would have to say that Joyce, in a sense, went beyond Dante,
Oh yeah, I think so.
because Joyce would I believe would take the view that that the Avignon Rome split was just another part of the same old story that is inevitable. That if the church engages and gathers power and wealth, it is inevitable for it to fall into decay.
Yeah, I was thinking about someone was complaining about Joyce rivaling the Tower of Babel. And I was thinking, no, he is creating a universal, something that can be read everywhere, almost and understood by people all over the whole world. He's trying to get back to a universal communication way of communication. I think that was one of his objectives.
Well, I think so too, but it was not, it was for us to become aware of how difficult language actually is.
Oh my, and you know,
And
Berolini talks about this, the slippery nature of language.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think it was just last time that we met, I gave my interpretation of the Tower of Babel as actually a necessary and an important thing. In order, because all the different languages embed different points of view. And that really, for us to grow spiritually and intellectually, we have to be aware of the slippery nature of language and the fact that different languages embed different points of view, and that by actually consciously learning language and having sympathy with languages that are not our own, that's a spiritual advancement.
I think so.
The idea, of
Berolini,
one universal language is not a good idea.
well, Berolini talks a lot. I started all over about Dante's awareness of there's a phrase she uses about what the real truth may look like a lie. She has a phrase for this, an Italian phrase that of course I can't remember, but he was just throughout telling the story, trying to convince us he's telling the truth, but it may look like a lie. The truth could look like a lie. I'm really eager to start over.
Yeah, well, we're getting close, and we're really setting our own pace here.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, from my point of view, I would prefer to continue at a rather leisurely pace.
Yeah, me too.
So when we do complete Paradiso and return to the Inferno, we're already trained to ingest it and digest it in a more thorough and leisurely manner.
Right. Enjoy it more, I think.
I agree.
I was struck, this is a little bit off topic, but it's about Avignon. It was over 600 years before another pope took the name John. And I guess that, I don't know, wasn't on my radar, but because that was, according to the note I have, John the 22nd was who the reference was to here. And of course we had John the 23rd when we were kids, Duncan.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so was there a Pope John in Avignon? Is that what's?
Yeah, he was John the 22nd. And which I just learned from a note. And then John the 23rd and Vatican II. So that's over 600 years. No pope chose to take that name again. Just curiosity.
I one time hitchhiked a ride with some friends in Holland, going to Spain, and we passed through France, and we spent a night in Avignon. And I have to say that it really felt like a very unique. It was quite beautiful, actually.
Yeah,
Even
the bridge, yeah.
we didn't even have any money when we stayed in some simple place, and it was like this beautiful stone room with these deep set windows, and it was quite magical, actually. So, personal aside there. But okay, so John, you're going to have to keep that name in good repair now.
Okay. Well, back in the old country, mine would have been Hovannes.
Okay.
Hovannes.
But the same thing.
Is that any biblical root, Hovannes or John?
Well, I mean, John does,
Yeah,
right?
Mm.
Yeah,
but Hovannes, an earlier,
that's just the Armenian
oh, okay.
form of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay, so we are here, so we got this. Okay, so he's still railing. We should probably finish the rant and then we'll
Okay.
wrap it up for the day.
Okay, it's just a few more verses.
Okay.
So we're at 52, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yes.
Nor I
Okay.
be, I go ahead. Nor I be made the figure of a seal, two privileges venal and mendacious, whereat I often redden and flash with fire.
Mm-hmm.
In grave of shepherds, the rapacious wolves are seen from here above all the pastures. O wrath of God, why dost thou slumber still? To drink our blood, the Corsairs and Gascons are making ready. O thou good beginning, and to how vile an end must thou needs fall?
Go to the end of the quote, two more verses.
Okay,
Yeah, down to
but the high
66.
okay, but the high providence that with Scipio at Rome the glory of the world defended will speedily bring aid, as I conceive. And thou, my son, who by mortal weight shalt thou down return again, open thy mouth. What I concealed not, do not thou conceal.
All right, great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yep.
What a rant. Woo.
Right. And Dante is writing these words out of Peter's mouth, and Peter is telling
Mhm.
him, give it to him, tell him the truth, tell him what they don't want to hear.
I really like
The risk.
line 52 through 54. I really like those lines. Nor I be made a figure of a seal to privileges venal and mendacious, whereat I often redden and flash with fire. Because of course they did have a seal, and they probably had a figure representing
Peter.
Saint Peter on
St.
the
Peter.
and they were using that seal for all of their legal
The sale of the
documents.
ecclesiastics. Yeah.
To make them look like they're holy.
Well, no, this one is a straight up fraud going on here because it's a seal to privileges venal and mendacious. So they're probably using the seal when they're selling indulgences to rich people.
Right.
Mm.
That
That's
Peter
what I guessed.
that Peter approves of this.
Yeah, it's the idea that they're acting as if Peter's approving of this, and this is a, you know, a pure and holy thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
no wonder he's
that's a
furious.
detail that's fantastic.
Yeah, he's quite upset here because he goes from, "O wrath of God, why dost thou slumber still?" And then just a few lines later, "High providence will speedily bring aid." So within this very short time, he expresses frustration that God has not addressed this, and at the same time confidence that God will address it.
Yeah.
So he's pretty agitated here.
Right, and he wants Dante to give him the news that this has to be done. The justice has to be served.
Yeah. I have to tell you though, I consider this high comedy.
Well, yeah, yeah. I
This
mean,
is downright laugh out loud comedy.
yeah, I bet Barolini says that somewhere.
Well, I mean, even here we have Saint Peter, and like I say, right up there in the Imperium,
Mhm,
you know, right next to God,
mhm.
and he's having these very human emotions.
Yeah, yelling at to Dante, tell this story.
Go
You know,
back there and tell those people.
bring those bad guys down. It is. I agree with you totally.
Yep. So do we know who the Carol scenes and the Gascons are?
Well, that carol scene, it was
Is John the 22nd, and the Gascon is Clement the 5th.
let's see this.
John is, oh, sorry, Clement is 1305 to 14, and John is
Okay, more
1316 to
bad folk.
34.
And Cahors, Pope John the 22nd was born in Cahors, Cahors. So I
Okay.
think that's what he means by the Corsians,
Uh-huh.
people who come from Cahors,
Okay.
and he's the first pope in Avignon.
Yeah. Well, that's also a great Tercina. To drink our blood, the Caroussines and Gascons are making ready. Oh, thou good beginning, unto how vile an end must thou needs fall.
So I guess he's comparing Dante with Scipio, who we didn't talk about. The glory of the world defended will speedily bring aid, and it's thou, my son Dante, by thy mortal weight, open thy mouth. What
Mhm.
I conceal not, do not thou conceal. Fight my battle.
Yeah, that,
Go
that
back
would
there
be,
and give them hell.
that would
Yeah,
be
exactly.
Scipio who defeated Hannibal. So could be viewed as saving
Okay.
Rome.
Okay.
Ah,
That's great.
yeah, even the defeat of Hannibal, yeah.
Okay. I propose that we pretty much wrap it up here. And I better make a note or I'll never remember, but my suggestion is that we should probably read the whole thing again when we meet next time. But then in our discussion, and unless there's a whole bunch of new people that show up, our discussion can pretty much maybe begin at 58.
Sure.
Just as a strong point for us to remember.
Right, I wrote it, I underlined it. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to join.
Oh,
I'm
please come
delighted.
back.
It is very insightful, I have to say, and a lot to learn. So I'm glad that this is like you're going slow and slow pace and taking different layers of going through different layers of understanding over and over.
Mhm. Yeah.
So next week I will be actually for the next 3 weeks I will be away from the
Oh.
country,
Mhm.
but I will join you as I come back when I come back.
Sure. Absolutely. Whenever. That's great.
Yes,
And
wonderful.
take a look at in addition to that Dartmouth site, there's also let me mention this other site to you, and actually Dee or Sheila. Do you know her as Dee or as Sheila?
Didi is the same being.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
both.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna send this digital Dante link to you. They're both excellent sites. The digital Dante link I use whenever possible. I use Dartmouth because it has the lines on the translations. So let me
Mhm.
hold on just a second here. I'm a little slow. There's that. There's that. Okay, so Gabriella, there's the link to Digital Dante. Fantastic site. This woman, Barolini, actually has all of her lectures online, as well as all of her notes. And she's the one that Dee Dee likes so much.
Oh,
think-
it's a challenge reading her. The
Oh, she's
second
great.
second time through is better, and I'm getting all these little phrases she repeats, and now I'm kind of like this.
I should
Truth-
probably not tell you that she has almost all of her books and essays on academia.edu, where you can download them all. There's a couple of exceptions, but she's got 30 years of material that she
Yeah.
just has up there. It's quite fantastic. All right. Anyway, I'm rattling on. I'm going to say thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Duncan. Thanks for
Bye,
coming.
Deborah. Well, bye,
Gabrielle
guys.
care.
and everybody. I guess Anne will be back next week. She's away.